Hi everyone, I'm Susan from Worldpeacefull, and today is International Day of Peace, the 21st of September. Jeremy Gilley, who's a UK citizen, was the person responsible for instigating the International Day of Peace. Through his own money and kind support from others, he lobbied the United Nations, I think for a number of years. It was quite a hard struggle to get them to agree to one day of an international ceasefire and to encourage people all over the world to stop for one day and think about peace. Peace, of course, is not an ethereal or an idealistic topic. It is who we are when we stop thinking. I'm a peace educator myself, and what I've come to understand about conflict is that it's always internal, and it's our thought process that decides something is right or something is wrong. All of us are influenced by our parents, by our society, by our religion if we have one, by our ethics. We live in nation states, and if we're isolated, if we've never travelled the world and met other people from a whole diverse range of communities, we're going to have a very, very singular worldview. Typically, if there's been no debate around some of the most cherished ideas, people will feel very offended if somebody critiques their idea. Somebody from a society, let's say, that debates differences all the time. They might see it as being disrespectful, whereas a person from a society where people are accustomed to debating a range of ideas might think that that's being democratic, being free. We all think differently, and it's very, very important that people understand that not everybody thinks like you in the world. What I do know is that we are one family. We all have the same DNA, but we come from a very, very diverse range of backgrounds. Over time, when people have been isolated, they've believed that they're right. But the truth is, as the world comes together, particularly through the internet, as we start to share more ideas, we start to broaden our perspectives, and we recognise that there are many ways of seeing perhaps the same thing. So for those of a religious mind or a particular dogma, they may come from a viewpoint that they are right and the other is wrong. If they're looking into documents, they can quote from those documents, but you will find that everybody does have a different interpretation, as we're all human and we're all different. Truth is a very, very hard thing to really assert with true certainty. I suppose when I think about truth, I know that I'm breathing, that's true. I'm seeing through my eyes, that feels true. I'm living in this moment right now, and this feels true to me right now. Others might have a certain belief system or a certain language, and that's true for them. So peace is really about accepting the diversity of others, and even if we don't agree with them, we accept that they have a right to their different viewpoint. As long as they don't impose their view on me, or I don't impose my view on them, then we can find harmony in that difference. And if we're really brave, we might even really challenge some of those ideas with each other for fun, but not as a means of making the other one wrong, but just as a means of saying, well, what if this? What do you mean by that? I don't really understand that, and how does that work with this? So what you're doing is you're just helping people to go deeper with the various beliefs they have. You're not necessarily saying you're right or you're wrong, but we can assist each other if everybody's open to that. What I've learned, particularly through my long road of peace, where I've had all sorts of hardships myself, I've had to really think about my thinking. What I've noticed is that through the way that we think, we can discriminate against others without even meaning to. We can categorize people. We all do it. Every culture does it. Some are higher, some are lower in the eyes of that society. But in truth, nobody is higher or lower. We're all equal in truth. We all come from somewhere. Some may call it the unmanifest or heaven or wherever. And we will go to that place, if indeed it is a place. When I interviewed people who had died and come back, they told me that they saw the light. Some of them heard voices. Some of them were met by people they knew who had passed over, who had died. They said they felt a great sense of peace. All of them, without exception, said that they realized their purpose in life was to love. And so when they came back, they were no longer frightened of death. Imagine living a life where you're not scared of dying. That's called freedom. So today, being the International Day of Peace, myself, along with a group of Australians called Australians for Peace, we went down to a place called Federation Square, which is right in the heart of Melbourne. We went to the Deakin Edge Theatre to start with, to join a larger group who were waking up for peace. So they conducted a meditation for world peace. And in that meditation, people are finding stillness. And they're sending their inner peace out to the world, to places like Syria, wherever there's conflict, to those people who feel sad or feel lost or lonely. We all send peace. Now, this does have an impact on global consciousness if everybody does it. At the moment, people still very caught up and distracted on their own iPhones or iPads or their domestic issues or their work issues, not really spending time to stop, become still, and really connect to the world. When you close your eyes, there is no other. You start to realize that you're one with all of it. Not only are we one with all the humans on the planet and all the wildlife and all the life forms, we're also connected to the cosmos, to the universe. Human beings did not create the planet. We came to this planet when we first opened our eyes and we saw around ourselves, our parents, our society. We went to school and we learnt what the general society thinks. But beyond all that was no thought. We were just feeling fully emotional. Children are very, very open, very innocent, very emotional. They feel everything. They're not sort of sitting back and detaching or rationalizing. And they're very honest. And I think that's what I love about them the most. So, we're far more than what we know, would be the essence of what I'm saying here. And there's a lot we don't know. And in fact, the greatest truth is, perhaps the greatest honesty is, I don't know. When I make allowances for that, I'm more likely to notice more. That's called awareness. Awareness is simply a looking, noticing, really becoming aware of the world you're in. It's like waking up from sleep. And perhaps that's the time we're in right now, is that many people are starting to awaken across the world. They're awakening to the old traditions, I think. And people are questioning far, far more, and they're being influenced by other citizens in other countries. So there's a much more of a level playing field playing out, if you like. So today was that. We started with the meditation, and then I went off and I got into my clown suit, because I'm a world peace clown. I don't look it today, but I was. My other persona, which is the one I adore. So I got into my clown suit, got my juggling balls out, and I went and hugged everyone that I could find. No one got scared, they were all fine. And blew bubbles to sort of send blessings to the world. What I love about being a clown is that I say hello to everybody and I get a connection with everyone. Get a chance to stop and say, what do you think about peace? What does it mean to you? It's lovely to see them smiling. So we had 22 olive trees set up. This is Australians for Peace. And got everybody to write a tag for peace, reflect on it, and hang it up on the tree. So these were all peace trees. It was really nice. I thoroughly enjoyed that. There was such a diversity of ideas. We had a lot of tags on the trees. It was great. There was some Chinese women who were doing a dance, and that was really, really nice too. So I clowned for about 4 or 5 hours. It was fun. I had a great time. Pretty exhausting. I was tired by the time I got home. And then I went out to a recital. The Indians were having a festival here in Australia called, I think, Confluence. So the confluence of two rivers was the meaning of it. And I had the privilege to listen to some Sufi musicians talking about the Sufi tradition. You might remember the whirling dervishes. Rumi is a famous Sufi poet who talks about love. And they were making the point that we're all one and that there are many truths, and what if they're all true? Rather than it being, you must believe what I think, we're actually thinking more in terms of, well, maybe you are right too, just like me. Maybe we can share ideas, maybe we can talk. So there's a lot of wonderful ways of creating harmony with other people without having to agree with them. You can let people be different. You can let them have their opinion. You can respect that difference without hurting them. Because at the end of the day, you can't change 4 billion people. They're all going to be thinking in different ways, and they're from different nation states, different traditions, different religions. Some aren't religious at all. Some are very spiritual in different ways. And we're all got to live together. So do you think you can do that? And even if somebody doesn't do what you do and you think is cool, can you just be okay with they might have a different preference? I remember when I worked as a market analyst. I was an analyst for 10 years. And we used to do surveys, and it was fascinating doing the analysis on all the different viewpoints. And I used to type up their answers. And I was always amazed at how unique everyone is. And I saw a collective wisdom in everybody. And I'm very lucky I'm in a country that's multicultural. So there's Muslims here, there's Hindus here, there's Buddhists here, there's, people from, different island traditions. We've got Indigenous people, all different skin tones, all different accents, and I love that. That's what I love about Australia. We're one of the most multicultural countries in the world, so we all have to mix it up. It's like, I can't just say, hey, you should be like me. We go, no, you're Australian too, but you've just got a different viewpoint, However, this culture is all about being equal, where, the traditions of Australians typically are that we're friendly and we give everyone a fair go and we don't mind where you're from. I mean, some people might get tense, but that's usually ignorance. And often when new people come into a culture, there's often some resistance in that culture until there's a sense of blending. But I think I'd like to see us all blend globally. I think we're meant to be different, but we're not here to hurt each other. I was very disappointed to hear today that there was conflict in Aleppo. I'm just going to read a little bit out of the NSNBC news. Apparently 20 civilians and one SARC staff member were killed as they were unloading trucks carrying vital humanitarian aid. Much of the aid was destroyed. The attack deprives thousands of civilians of much needed food and medical assistance, notes the aid organisation. SARC President Dr. Abdul Rahman Atta, he said, "We're totally devastated by the deaths of so many people, including one of our colleagues, the director of our sub-branch, Omar Bakarat. He was a committed and brave member of our family of committed staff and volunteers working relentlessly to alleviate the suffering of the Syrian people. It is totally unacceptable that our staff and volunteers continue to pay such a high price because of the ongoing fighting." So this was to do with the Red Crescent and Red Cross who were attacked. And of course, under the Geneva Conventions, the Red Cross have always been able to go into war zones and help the wounded, distributing aid to civilians. It's really important. But the nature of war has changed, where we're seeing more 90% of civilian casualties now rather than the reverse in traditional warfare where you have two countries coming together and fighting. So a lot of civilians are being hurt. I've also heard of the targeting of hospitals and schools. And this is the insanity of war. And what drives it is beliefs. And there are also other parties in the background who may gain some benefit. Of course, those selling weapons as well. And yet you move into a meditative state. And you start to realize that people are confused. You'd have to be separated from others to deprive them of food and medical aid. You'd have to see them as an enemy. And as I know, there is no enemy. You are me, I am you. I may think differently to you, but I'm not your enemy. And no one is. A civilian, a child is not your enemy. And still we get blinded by our anger and our rage as we seek to inflict the pain on others that we feel within ourselves. And yet it never stops the pain. It only escalates it until you're willing to face your pain. I feel some deep sorrow as I'm feeling to say to the warring parties in Syria, stop. Think. Reflect. What if that other is your wife, your child, your brother, your uncle, your father, your grandfather? Imagine that you are hurting them. Your sister, your mother, your daughter, your granddaughter. Suffering terrible pain. They would be in an agony that you and I, perhaps you can understand. I don't. I've had agony, definitely, but murdering others is not going to bring you what you truly want. Every single human being on this planet has great beauty within. Every single one, no exception. But our confused thinking clouds the vision. It's like a veil that we put over our eyes. We cannot see. But until you lift that veil and you open your eyes and you stop and you look and you say, is this love? If you're fighting what you perceive as a religious war, is not God love? Is it not truth? What is truth? What if it's intelligent? What if it's right now is the truth? But if I come back to this video in the future, well, it's no longer the truth because it's not now. What if words are poor conveyors of the truth? What if we really can't tap into the real essence of truth? What if love is truth? And if it's true, then how could we hurt another? Surely love is the way. But I guess you'll discover that when you're ready to. And you may have to suffer through your actions because nobody ever is freed from internal suffering when they commit aggression against another. This is why our world needs peace, because we're all suffering. Everyone is suffering. You're not the only one. We suffer because we believe negativity. We believe that strength is through what we think is projected power. What if strength is compassion, like the Red Cross and the Red Crescent are doing? What if it's generosity and giving and caring for other human beings? What if that's the greatest strength of humanity? You think of a mother and their child, her child, and the love she gives that child. Can you imagine how she must feel when that child is either killed or she's killed? So my plea to whoever you are watching this, if you're in a war zone or if you're in a violent situation where someone is being harmed by you, or if you've been harmed by someone, to not seek the revenge, but to go into stillness and ask to be shown what to do for the highest good of all. If you do that, I guarantee you something will change. This intelligence is universal, and it's in every single human being, no exception. Every single human being is loved dearly. But for the moment we're in confusion, a confused mind would never harm another. Peace is the way. And so on this International Day of Peace, I'm sending love to everybody, and I'm asking for sanity across this planet. I'm asking for a newer way, another way, where we learn to work together, we learn to listen to one another, we learn not to dominate each other, we learn to come together in councils and forums where we can really share and resolve conflict. We need to learn conflict resolution. You can find it on the internet. There's a very good group in Sydney, Conflict Resolution Centre. They have free resources on conflict resolution. Go there. If you want to learn about transforming negative thoughts, if you want to question your thinking, and it's not for someone to tell you what to think, it's just simply asking simple questions to reveal your own truth, because that's where that wisdom is. It's inside you. You can go to ByronKatie.thework.com if you really want to find out. This is for those who really want peace. Peace is not a wish. Peace is who we are when we stop thinking, and it is our natural birthright. And I'd like to say that during this time, particularly noting today on the International Day of Peace, your happy destiny is unavoidable. We are moving towards world peace, definitely. There is a shift happening in the consciousness of humanity as we're starting to slowly question what we've always believed is true. But the only thing I can say is definitely true is that love is all there is. When we truly connect to our true self, you will only feel love. And I know, as a world peace clown, having travelled 20 countries, having travelled around Australia by myself with a tent, I've come to understand that we're all same but different. I've come to understand that what I see in another is in myself, that if I'm upset, I look at me, not the other, that I start dialogue with that other, and I ask them what they think, and then I say what I think, but I don't do it with blame. We call it I statements in conflict resolution, which would go something like this. When you do that, whatever that action is, or say whatever you say, I feel upset, I feel hurt, I feel rejected, I feel isolated, I feel not heard. Could be a range of feelings. And what I would like is for you to, and then you fill in the blank. That means you're owning your own discord, your own upset, and you're saying what you want. And you're letting the other know about their own behaviour. Those are I statements. And when we sit into dialogue, if we get a third-party mediator, this person is neutral, And they would get one person to speak without interruption, stating the story clearly without blame, and then the other person's listening, and then once they've finished, the mediator turns to the other person or the other party and says, what do you think? How do you feel? This person then will state, well, this is from our point of view what we think, or what I think, and this is how it unfolded, and this is what happened. And then what the mediator would do is then say, okay, do you have any questions you would like to ask each other? Starting with this party. And the next person gets the opportunity to say something. Then what the mediator does is get them to draft up some options. What are possibilities that we could do to try and meet in the middle? And then once that's sort of flushed out, then the mediator gets them to look into solutions. What would you both agree to? Would you agree to this? Would you agree to that? And that way both parties are responsible and empowered for the outcome. This is what true empowerment is. It's not about dominating one another, it's about working it out. We have to live together. Whether you like it or not, you can't dominate people forever, and eventually people will rebel if you do take that strategy. So with mediation, it's something that we need to teach in schools, in workplaces, in government, where we all learn to respect one another with universal values of empathy, respect, responsibility, a sense of oneness, inner peace, becoming aware of each other. I actually call it real hope. And I'll just repeat those universal values. It's in every single human being in the world. Responsibility, empathy, awareness, love, honesty, oneness, peace, enjoyment, and service. When we look through the prism of universal values, we solve problems through the values, not through being clever. So when I take responsibility, I own what's mine. I don't just sit and blame everyone. When I feel empathy, I walk in your shoes. I imagine what it feels like to be you. When I'm aware, I notice, I get the facts, I find out, I do research, not just to prove my case, but to actually know the truth of the matter. Love is I look at you as my brother or sister. I feel compassion. Honesty is to speak the truth, the whole truth, to everyone. To have inner truth is the highest truth, where you're not lying to yourself, you're being honest. Oneness is we're all one planet, we're one breath, we're one family. We are one. Peace is the balance of yin and yang, it's balance. So we feel a sense of harmony with one another. So from harmony, I see differently. Then we've got enjoyment. We're all here to be happy. We're not going to be happy if we're all fighting. So in order to have that happy destiny that's unavoidable, is to tap into the joy within. You're in alignment with your truth. When you feel joy, when you feel love, when you feel truth, happiness. This is the alignment. It's also the alignment with the higher consciousness that some people might call God. And of course, service is once you've come into alignment with all those values, you will naturally serve your fellow human being. And that's where the highest joy is in service to humanity. So with that, I wish you a happy International Day of Peace every year. And I send you great love. And that's my prayer for you, for peace. I love you with all my heart. Bye. Be happy.